Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, amma ba'd. Tonight, inshallah, we'll talk about some virtues and some manners. Well, we'll talk about some virtues for the month of Ramadan and some manners of fasting. As you know, the month is approaching. Exactly a month from now. So get ready. Supposedly around May 15th, we'll start the month of Ramadan. Today's April 14th, so about a month.
May 16th.
Is it May 16th? Okay. So Google is wrong. Yeah, we won't know for sure until we sight the moon, because this is the way to tell the beginning of the month, according to the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. There's a lot of chatter. Yes. Thank you, Talal. All right. So what I want to do, inshallah, is cover some hadith, some narrations from Riyaad as-Saaliheen. It's one of the most important, or you could say it is one of the most popular books of hadith, collections of the narrations of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Barak, please look this way. Abdurrahman, pay attention. So Riyaad as-Saaliheen, all of us should be familiar with this book. It's read in many masajid and many circles of knowledge, and it has a very nice collection of the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him. One reason it is popular is because it has mostly hadith related to virtues and related to manners and etiquettes. So it is important for every Muslim to be aware of those narrations. It doesn't have a lot of fiqh or jurisprudence or rulings, so it's much easier. The common people can understand it. We're all common folk, right? So it does not need a scholar to interpret. You could read it on your own, and I recommend. And it's translated. It is translated into English. It has actually several translations. Some of them are pretty good. So I recommend that you buy the book and make it a habit that you read it on a regular basis. So let us go over some of the hadith from this important chapter. Imam al-Nawawi, he called it Babu Wujubi Sawmi Ramadan wa Bayani Fadl al-Siyam. It is a chapter about the obligation of fasting the month of Ramadan and the virtue of the fast. Of course, the first is the ayah we all know related to fasting in the month of Ramadan. In the Quran, only one place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Ramadan and fasting, and that is in Surah Al-Baqarah. I was hoping one of the younger folks here could help me with that. Sometimes I forget. I need help, man. Get help me. Okay, so this ayah, in fact, it is several verses. But the first one says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Okay, so it says, "O you who believe, fasting has been written upon you." This is one of the ways of God telling us that something is required. You know, some of the halaqas I used to do, I used to ask everybody to submit their gadgets.
What gadgets?
Do you want it?
No, not me. Just put it here where I can see it. So all of you, come on, slide.
Two,
3, 4. Everybody, come on. Don't be a coward.
Come on, blow out.
Do it.
I'm taking it out.
Blow
There you
out.
go. Submit your weapons. Okay, send your last text and
Someone's playing.
come on. You first. That's why I made the rules for you. Don't take back your gadgets. Okay, a little better. Okay, back to where we were. So anytime you see that God says something is written upon you, it means it is wajib, it is mandatory. So fasting is mandatory. We know it is from the Quran. So don't let anyone come and say, well, fasting the month of Ramadan is recommended, but it's not wajib. No, we know for sure it is wajib. In fact, it is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So it is mighty important. It also tells us that the fasting was written upon the people before us. And that tells us that it is super important. So there's certain things in Islam that God has commanded all the nations to follow. One of them is monotheism. So all the prophets were asking their people to worship one God. No exception. Even Jesus. He was telling his people to worship one God. Another one is salat, a prayer. Every prophet prayed and commanded his people to pray. Fasting is similar. Because fasting is very important. As we're going to see, it has many benefits. Now, one of the benefits is mentioned in the surah. It says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So you may attain taqwa. And taqwa basically is your ability to stay away from sins, from temptations. It's pretty hard sometimes, and if you don't have the will, the determination, the self-discipline, you could easily fall into sins. And this also relates to a very important concept called delayed gratification. Delayed gratification. So we live in a time where we always seek immediate gratification, right? We want something and we want it right now. People graduate out of college and they want to buy a house right away. They want a brand new car immediately. This was unheard of in the past. You'd wait 10, 20 years for the first house you buy or the first new car you buy. Not only that, if we want to find some piece of information, we want it to appear on the phone, on the gadget right away, or on the screen right away. Again, this was unheard of. In the past, you wanted to get a piece of information, you might have to travel, you might have to go to the library and find the right book if you're lucky. You want to buy something now, you just go to Amazon and you have Prime membership, you get it in 2 days. And in the future, you probably get it much faster. We live in a culture where we're always seeking this instantaneous gratification or gratification. Now, what is delayed gratification? Well, delayed gratification is basically when you decide that instead of getting this immediate reward, I'm going to wait and I'm going to get something better. And by the way, this is an experiment that modern psychologists have been doing. There was one experiment done out of Stanford, and I think they did it with marshmallows. And they brought very young kids. And basically, the experiment, the test was very simple. Either you can choose to take the marshmallow right away, or you wait, and the wait was not too long, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you get 2 marshmallows. And you get some people, very young kids, they would go for the one right away. They can't wait. And then you see other set of kids were willing to wait 15 minutes, and they do get the 2 marshmallows. And sometimes the person conducting the experiment would leave the room. So there's some risk here. You may never come back. You may never get your 2 marshmallows. But those people were disciplined, they had patience, and they waited until they got the 2 marshmallows. Not only that, they did a follow-up. So they found out that the kids who waited and had this ability to delay the gratification, they were more successful in life later. They had better scores on SAT. They eventually they did better in schools and colleges, in life. They have better self-discipline. better social skills. So delayed gratification is something to be taken seriously. I mean, it really can determine, it's at least a factor of success. And this is exactly what fasting can do to you. It can teach you to be patient. Now, patience, sometimes people, again, when they think of patience, they think it's something hard and not fun to do. But the Prophet told us also that if you're able to be patient, you're going to be successful. وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ النَّصْرَ مَعَ الصَّبْرِ. He told us victory comes with patience. They go together hand in hand. He also told us وَمَا أُعْطِيَ أَحَدٌ عَطَاءً خَيْرًا وَأَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنَ الصَّبْرِ. That no one is given a gift that is better and more beloved to God than the gift of patience. So being patient is beloved to Allah, and it is a great gift. It is a gift, like some people don't even realize it is a gift. So it's a very good habit to develop while you're young, that you're able to stay away from the immediate gratification and be patient and be willing to wait until you get rewarded better later. And that's the concept of fasting. I mean, you're depriving yourself from food and drink right on the spot, but later, for example, at dinner, at iftar, you have much more fun with food. Even the same food that you stayed away from on the dinner table, it tastes much better. Not to mention that you have other rewards coming later. And we'll talk about some of that in a few minutes. All right. Now, the other ayah I want to mention here that Imam al-Nawawi mentioned is about Ramadan. So we talked about fasting a little bit. Let's talk about Ramadan. It says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Okay. So it says the month of Ramadan is the month in which the Quran is revealed. Now we know the Quran was not revealed all together in one book. It was revealed over a period of time. Anyone knows how long it took for the Quran to be revealed?
23 years.
23 years, excellent. So 13 years in Mecca, 10 years in Medina. All right? So how come it says that the whole Quran was revealed in the month of Ramadan? Okay, well, scholars have different opinions. One says that the beginning of revelation happened in the month of Ramadan. And indeed, this was in the night of Qadr. This is why we celebrate the night of Qadr, right? This is in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Remember, we have the night of the decree or Qadr. So that was when the first part of the Quran, the first few verses were revealed. But also, there's another opinion that the Quran was all revealed to the first heaven, and then it was revealed in 23 years. So here it says that the month of Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. A lot of people associate Ramadan with fasting, but they don't realize that Ramadan was special even before fasting was prescribed. Because fasting of Ramadan was prescribed in Medina, the second year after Hijrah. And the first verses or few verses of the Quran were revealed where? In Mecca, right? And it was revealed 13 years earlier, right? The first time. So since then, the month of Ramadan was special because it is the month of the Quran. So again, some people think the month of Ramadan is special because of fasting. It's the other way around. Fasting was prescribed to honor the month of the Quran, to honor the month of the Quran. Okay? And here it says it clearly that the reason the month of Ramadan is special is because the Quran was revealed in that month. Okay, so now let us move on to the hadith. The first one I want to talk about is the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الله عز وجل. So it says that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that Allah said. So that's a special hadith. We call that hadith Qudsi because here it says that Allah is making the statement, not the Prophet. But it is not Quran either. So hadith Qudsi is kind of in between. It's not a prophetic narration, but it is not Quran either. It is something said by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is not the Quran. It says, كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصيام فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به. He said, every action of the son of Adam, meaning all of us, is for him or her, except fasting. So what does that mean? Well, it could mean different things. It could mean that you could cheat when you do any act of worship. You could pretend that you're doing it for the sake of Allah, but in essence, in reality, you're doing it for some other reason, for some other motive. You're trying to impress someone. Because all the other actions are visible. Like when you pray, possibly, you could be impressing or trying to impress someone who's looking at you. And you try and make that prayer longer. You make sure you include all the sunnahs, and all of that. And in sujood, you go for, 2, 3, 5 minutes. So there's a room for show off. When you give charity, you can raise your hand, I'm giving, $10,000 for this cause. So there's some possibility of show off, trying to impress someone. When it comes to fasting, that's not easy. It's not easy to show off. There's nothing to show off really. There's no visible action. Because fasting, in essence, is refraining from something. You're not doing any positive action. You're refraining from something. There's a joke one time. So maybe there is, but it's not direct. One time a man was praying and another sheikh was looking at him and he was impressed by his prayer. So when he finished, he told him, MashaAllah, your prayer was really nice and long. So the man looked at him and he said, I'm also fasting. So apparently you could show off. But again, it's not direct. It's not something you could see. And this is why it's such a special act in the eyes of God, in the eyes of Allah. Allah loves it because it's gonna be for Him. Even if somebody, let's say, God forbid, they go in seclusion and eat, no one will see you. So if you're really fasting, you gotta be doing it for the sake of Allah. There's no possibility of another motive. It's not possible that you, show off or, even cheat or anything like that, because if you are staying away from food and water the entire day, even when no one is looking at you, you gotta be doing it for the sake of Allah and no one else. And that's why Allah loves it so much. That's why He said, all the other acts are for the son of Adam, but this act of fasting is for me. Like it's really for my sake. And وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ, and I am the one who's gonna reward it. Because of this, I'm gonna be the one rewarding it. What does that mean? Again, we get rewarded for all the other acts. If you pray, I hope you get rewarded. If you give charity, you get rewarded. But here it means that I'm not gonna decide the amount of reward until the Day of Judgment. So usually if you, let's say you read Quran, you get 10 hasanat for every letter, right? And sometimes, those hasanat could be multiplied to 700 times in cases of charity and so on. So we have an idea, we have a multiplier we can work with, right? We know, more or less, we can tell how much reward there is in a particular action. But when it comes to fasting, no one, like the Quran, the Hadith, doesn't tell us at all what kind of reward we will get. And we will never know until the Day of Judgment. It's gonna be like a surprise. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment will come and He'll have a surprise how much reward there is in fasting. So that's what it means. He said, وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ, I am the one who's gonna reward you for the fast. وَالصِّيَامُ جُنَّةٌ, he said. The third benefit is that fasting is a shield. Now that doesn't mean oh no, we're not going to go through all of these phones. I did not think about that. Okay. Yeah. So fasting is a shield. It is a protection. Fasting can shield us from all kinds of trouble. In fact, the Prophet told us, alayhi salatu wasalam, like for the people who are not able to get married right away, one of the solutions for that is to fast. So somebody is a young adult, they're in the age of marriage, but they're not able to get married, one reason or another. Maybe you're not making enough money, maybe you've not found your first job, maybe you're not finding a good spouse. I don't know, it could be different reasons. If you're not able to do it, if you're not able to get married, then one solution, obviously it is a temporary solution. It's not a permanent solution. Okay? Because in Islam we believe that marriage is part of the religion. So being a celibate or deciding not to get married, like you see it in other religious traditions, but not in Islam. In Islam, in fact, we are recommended that we get married. But sometimes it is not possible to do it right away as soon as you'd like to. So in that case, the Prophet told us one thing you can do is to fast. So fasting is a shield. The reason he told us that is because, as it says here, it is a shield. It protects us. There could be different reasons for this if you think about it. Obviously, when you fast, you could argue that your pleasure goes down. That's one reason. But another reason also is that if you're putting all this effort to fast, you're not going to ruin it by another sin. Psychologically speaking, imagine somebody fasting and it's hot and you've been fasting for hours and hours. You're not going to ruin that fast by doing something haram. So automatically you notice yourself in the month of Ramadan, you could lower your gaze much better. You can stay away from sin and temptation easier. I'm talking on average. You might have some exceptions, so don't come to me and argue with me. I'm saying on average, that is the case. I hope it works for you. So fasting is a protection in many different ways. You could also argue that it is a protection from certain illnesses. The fact that you fast, it cleanses the body. It's a form of detox. You're cleansing your body from all the poison you've been injecting all year. Because we eat all kind of fried food and all kind of food that basically is unhealthy. Okay. There is a hadith that says, "Sumu tasihhu," fast and you'll be healthy, but that is not an authentic hadith, unfortunately. I think the meaning is true though. The meaning is true, but the actual wording is not authentic, meaning we cannot prove that the Prophet said it. But anyway, like I said, in general, staying away from food for an entire day, automatically you're going to stay away from junk food. So, you notice this, right? Outside of Ramadan, you always find yourself taking a snack here, you eat the Snickers bar, you eat the pretzels and all of that stuff, right? You chew on that hamburger, blah, blah. In the month of Ramadan, you don't have time to do that. So you automatically, you see that you're not eating junk food because you only got 2 meals and you really want to stock up on the protein and the vegetables, stay hydrated. So your priorities are totally different. And now you focus on what matters, the food that really helps you, the food that really gets you enough energy and support. So, and you find immediately after Ramadan, when you break fast and you go back to your regular days, then you go back into eating, into these eating habits, where you're eating small little stuff that doesn't make a difference, or it's just adding more poison to your body. So you're drinking more Coke, you're drinking more coffee, you're doing this and that, the gums, the sugar, everything. So all of that stops in the month of Ramadan. You notice that. So that is also a form of protection. So when the Prophet said, وَالصِّيَامُ جُنَّةٌ, that fasting is a protection, it is a protection from all of that. All right. The next thing is an etiquette, which is really important. فَإِذَا كَانَ يَوْمُ صَوْمِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَسْخَمْ. When you're fasting, do not speak foul language. And do not shout. Yaskhab is like you shouting all the time. Now I know some people, they say, well, they get angry quick in the month of Ramadan, and if you tell them like, calm down, they say, I'm fasting. So that's like a reason for getting upset and angry, and they say, like, I'm fasting, so you lose your temper faster. But the Prophet is telling us it should be the opposite. So imagine, you're trying your best to seek the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's so good to be cool in the month of Ramadan, like to take it easy, man, and be calm, and make sure the fasting is not just happening on the body, it's also happening on the soul. So people can tell right away that you're fasting, just by your etiquettes, the way you handle yourself, the way you observe the fast. And see, he said, فَإِنْ سَابَهُ أَحَدٌ أَوْ قَاتَلَهُ فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ. If somebody wants to engage with you, like they want to fight, right? And they start, try and, poke around and want to, provoke you. Some people, they're good provocateurs. They love to provoke others. So this is a really good experiment to try in the month of Ramadan. Someone trying to provoke you, you step back and you say, I'm fasting. You don't have to announce it. Like some people think, well, I have to make an announcement, I'm fasting and all. It's up to you. I mean, it depends on the situation. It depends on the situation. Sometimes you can tell yourself, these people are trying to provoke me, so you say, I'm fasting. I'm not gonna honor them with a reply. I'm not gonna even pay attention to them. And you could walk away. You could, just withdraw yourself and go somewhere else. So that is actually a really important advice from the Prophet, peace be upon him. If someone is trying to curse you, to cuss at you, to engage with you, to quarrel, to fight, all of that, he said, don't do that. Don't engage with them. Rather say, I'm fasting. Now, if they know what fasting is, if you say it out loud, maybe they also will back off. So you're the one who's going to decide what to do. You could say it out loud if you want. You could say it in silence, or remind yourself. It's all good. All right. And then he said, I swear by Allah, he said, I swear by God, وَالَّذِي نَفْسُ مُحَمَّدٍ بِيَدِهِ. That's a quick translation. That's not the accurate one, but I don't have time. I want to go quickly over the important meaning. He said the breath of the fasting person, because obviously when you fast, your breath is not going to be great. It's not going to smell great. Obviously, it could be offensive. But he said, to Allah, the breath is better than the scent of musk. And this is something we have to pay attention to. We have a standard, the human being has a standard, but Allah can have a different standard. So in our standard, this is an offensive smell, because all we can focus on is the physical smell. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking at the action producing the smell. and this action is so good and pious. And that's the problem. I mean, nowadays, this is a problem in general. We live in a materialistic society. So all of the attention is given to the appearances. How good we look, how tall, how light. Some people pay attention to that, unfortunately. How expensive, right? And all of that. How new. So people are so much consumed by this, by the fact that you look good, you appear good, all the appearance. And there's not much attention to like your moral character, the manners, the etiquettes, the virtues. There's not much attention to that sometimes. And that is a problem. So Ramadan is an opportunity to bring some of this back, to bring the importance, the essence of what's inside of you, not what is coming, not the appearance, not the smell or the look, or the sound. It's more about what's within you, what you're about. Like, what are the qualities you have? What are the behaviors you exhibit? This is what the month of Ramadan is about. And you can see this over and over again in this hadith. And remember, this is something that God is speaking. It's a hadith Qudsi. Imagine this kind of breath that is so offensive. It's saying that to Allah, to God, it is better. It's more beautiful than the scent of musk. That can tell you the difference between the two standards, the human standard and the divine standard. So keep that in mind. Lastly, it says, لَلصَّائِمِ فَرْحَتَانِ. The fasting person will have two moments of joy. إِذَا أَفْطَرَ فَرِحَ بِفِطْرِهِ وَإِذَا لَقِيَ رَبَّهُ فَرِحَ بِصَوْمِهِ. If he breaks his fast, he'll be happy, obviously. And this is something no one can deny unless something is wrong with you. You have this moment of happiness every single day. So we have like Thanksgiving times 29 or 30. Every day you break fast and you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the food you have. All of a sudden you start appreciating all the food that you took for granted. So it is a great moment of happiness, like especially the first few bites. Later, like half an hour later, when you still try and fight with that big dish of rice, it's probably not as enjoyable. But the first few moments, oh subhanAllah, I mean you start drinking water and eating. That's no doubt a time of joy. Another time is when you finish the month, the time of Eid, when you finish the entire month. By the way, the joy is not just because you're eating and drinking. It's also a sense of accomplishment. Like sometimes it is so hard to accomplish anything. Like some days, they go by and you say, dang it, I was not able to do a thing. Like this whole entire day is a waste. Like I failed to do one single productive thing. I wasted the entire day on games or watching TV or something, surfing the internet, and I was useless, like totally. But in the month of Ramadan, the fact that you completed an entire day of no food or water, and you say, well, it's not a big deal, I've done it before. Go talk to anyone else. Go talk to anyone who is not a Muslim and tell them what you did. And you're gonna see a jaw drop right away. Like, really? In Arizona, like so hot? I can't live without water for an hour. I'll dehydrate, I'll die. In fact, you surprise yourself too. Because you yourself, outside of the month of Ramadan, try and, if it's like a really hot summer day, and you go without water for a few hours, and you already feel like you're passing out. Like you're fine, but this is a feeling you start having, right? In the month of Ramadan, it's not a big deal, like you're a Superman all of a sudden. Like go for like 8, 12 hours, 15 hours, depending how long the day is. Like 12 hours, 15 hours, not a single drop of water, and you're fine, you're okay. That's a miracle. That is a miracle. So part of the joy you have when you break fast is that you have this sense of accomplishment. Do we have another halaqah? It's okay. I was not looking. I just heard some voices. So maybe we'll have some testimonials after we finish. You tell us what you think about, or if you have an experience that is worth sharing, we can do that, inshallah. Okay, and then the other moment of joy is on the Day of Judgment. Again, the reason, like I said, is because only on that day you're going to find out how much reward you're going to have. So this is the reason you're going to have the other moment of joy, and that is on the Day of Judgment when we meet God, when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so this is the end of the hadith, and I think it's enough, right? I was planning to have more, but I think we've already. How long has it been? 35 minutes. That's probably good enough. Yeah, we don't want to bore you. So inshallah, next time we'll have. So until Ramadan, we're going to talk about fasting. We'll talk about some interesting aspects of fasting to make it more interesting for you. So when you go and fast the month of Ramadan, now you have certain things to look for. You have certain ideas, habits, certain things you can try. Inshallah, we'll make the experiment of Ramadan, or the experience of Ramadan, much more interesting and enjoyable. I think maybe though 1 or 2 Saturdays will be out or something, so we're not going to have those. But next Saturday we will have our halaqah.
We just got to this part. It was like the climax.
What was it?
You're about to leave us on a cliffhanger for a week.
For a week? Well, we'll have it next week, and then.
I know, but like, we just got to the good part of the climax.
Okay. Sorry about that.